Hey everyone, Dan here. Today we're going to do a little something different. I will of course be having my usual daily stock ticker analyses later on in the day, but I wanted to go through some FAQs because the comments are getting pretty heavy. They're getting to be a pretty heavy load, and so I thought this would be a way to kind of answer some of them without kind of having to go in and type and answer, especially the ones that come up over and over and over again. I thought we would handle those here. So the first one I have, and we're going to go through 7 of them. Some of them are just going to be pretty quick and easy, but price targets or price by a certain date. So this comes up a lot. What's your price target for this? Or do you think that such and such a stock will be at $30 by the time my call expires on August 20th? So a couple of things. One, I do think that there's a good point and some good validity around setting some price targets for some of these. So I will be putting out some videos in the near future on different tickers that I do have price targets for and kind of walking through why I'm sort of looking at that price target. So I do appreciate, the feedback on that. I could see that's valuable, and I do have price targets for some that I'd be happy to share. Obviously, kind of my reluctance to do so in the past is because I don't want this channel to be about people blindly following anyone. That's not something that I sort of ascribe to. I don't think that it's a good habit to get into. But to the degree that it's helpful giving folks sort of like an idea of how to formulate price targets, I'm happy to walk through a process and then put my price target on it, but kind of explain why I'm coming to that conclusion, and then sort of like give you kind of the tools to be able to do that for yourself. But again, just please know, I'm not going to put price targets out there because I want or expect folks to blindly follow them. That I think is a bad habit to get into. The price by a certain date thing is probably something that I won't necessarily. I typically either just respond and say like I don't know, or I just ignore them. If I have options on certain tickers, I'll definitely share those when I do a video on the ticker. So if I don't mention it, then that means that I just have shares or I don't have a position. And price by a certain date, I mean, it's just a shot in the dark. I mean, it really is just a guess. Price target, you can kind of have some reasoning behind it. Price by a certain date, if there's a particular catalyst, maybe, but even then, you don't know how a catalyst is going to be received by the market, so it still is pretty much like crystal ball territory. The other thing that I'd say about the price targets is I don't have price targets on every single ticker that I cover, or even every position that I have. Typically, I'm looking for a pattern. I'm looking at the trend, and I'm saying when it does this, then that will signal to me to sell. So I guess alternately, I could additionally give, I could be more explicit about that. But typically, when you see these price targets that I'm putting in, and I say, here's an area where you could trim, here's an area where you could lock in some profit, this might be a good dip buying opportunity. I mean for those to be sort of received as potential price targets. But I do understand the sort of like idea that, I see this stock going to $30, and when it comes to $30, I'm either going to reevaluate it or I'm going to take all or most of my profit at $30. I do understand that, but just know that if I don't put it out for a ticker, it's because I don't have a price target for that ticker. I'm just playing the trend. So I'm just playing a channel. I'm just playing supply and demand zones on the way up, or I'm just playing the RSI indicator, something like that. So I guess hopefully that's helpful. We'll see. You can all tell me. Okay, so bullish or bearish on a stock. I don't really, I know maybe this sounds weird. I don't know. I think that is like a very simplistic way, maybe an overly simplistic way of thinking about stocks in the stock market, just like a very black and white, are you bullish or bearish? I honestly don't think about the tickers that I cover in that way. Again, I'm looking at the trend. I'm trying to analyze the previous behavior patterns that I see, potential areas for dip buys, bounces, channel plays, things like that. So I'm looking at the trend. I'm not saying, ooh, I'm really bearish on Palantir because it's in a down channel right now. No, I would just say, okay, if there's a way for me to make money off of that down channel, you know, I'll just play the channel. But it's not because overall I think that Palantir is like, that I'm bearish on Palantir. I mean, I will say, I guess I've tried to say this in sort of like weird ways before. There's certain tickers that I think are cool companies, that like, if they can deliver on sort of some of the things that they're promising, I think that they would be really cool companies. You know, I've talked about Workhorse being a cool company. I've talked about Palantir being a cool company. SoFi, I think. So I think that these are really interesting companies. I think that they have a lot of potential. So I guess if you consider that bullish, then I'm bullish. I don't know that there's a lot of companies that I've analyzed or that I've come across that I'd be super bearish on. Again, if I did a different type of analysis and sort of like dug into the business aspects, and sort of deconstructed it that way, which maybe I'll do some of those videos in the future. Maybe that is sort of like a way that folks are saying that that would be helpful to them. You know, I'm happy to do that and sort of talk about, you know, potentially some of the bullish factors that I see in a company or some of the bearish factors that I see in a company. So, you know, I could look at that, but to be honest, I don't go in with the charting and with the analysis and go in with the mindset of, oh, because of this, I'm bearish on the stock, or because of this, I'm bullish on the stock. I honestly think either the company is interesting or I don't have any opinion on it. And I'm always just sort of like looking for the trend and how can I play the trend, and, you know, how can I profit off of it, basically. So, why do I focus so much on short sellers and fails to deliver and things like that? Well, first of all, one, there's, I think, a lot of valuable lessons that retail has realized that they can learn, and resources that they have available to them in order to decipher what's going on in previously like really opaque areas of the market. And there's still a ton of areas with short selling, and even though we have visibility into some things, like they come very delayed oftentimes, and we oftentimes have incomplete data. So it still is, you know, like stitching together a story oftentimes with sort of like incompletes or slightly incoherent pieces of data. But I cover it because I think that it plays a factor. And, you know, if folks disagree with that, I definitely understand. Like, you know, I would say if you think that fails to deliver are unimportant and short interest is unimportant, then, you know, just don't focus on it. And to the degree to which you get value from the other elements of the stock that I cover in these videos, then that's cool. You can always just ignore those other pieces. Or you know, there's definitely a bunch of other channels out there that are putting out videos that don't focus on those things. So, you know, it's just, I think that they play a role. Doing shorter videos. So this comes up a lot. Could you please do shorter videos? So first of all, I would say I honestly have tried, and it's obviously very challenging for me. But I'm going to continue to try. I'm going to try to formulate some ways in which I can do it. I think one of them is sort of like planning the video ahead of time, like having the chart up and ready to go and just sort of like talking through what's on there. The reason I've shied away from that in the past is I want folks to see like why I'm putting certain zones in the chart, or how I'm identifying a channel, things like that. And I think there is, like, not having it scripted feels to me to be more genuine. But I do know that it also then makes what could be potentially like a 6-minute video 13 minutes, you know, something like that. So so I will look for ways to do shorter videos in the future. Just know that it will have obviously like a different feel, and it won't be as much sort of like explanation behind things, which again, that's where it just feels like it's just like, here's, you know, my chart and here's what I think of it. Take it. It feels very much like not explaining it starts to get into that territory of blindly follow this, and I don't want this to be about that, but I can probably speak to that at the beginning of each of those videos and just sort of like mention that. The other thing is, if you do want to just get through the longer videos faster, you know, YouTube does this great thing where they allow you to speed up the video. You can watch it at, like, I think 1.25, 1.5, maybe 1.75, but definitely you can 2x the speed of the video. So if you want to make any of my videos half the length, just put on 2x speed, and as long as you can comprehend, you know, what's being said, which you probably can because they don't speak that quickly, I don't think, you know, you're good to go. You can knock any of the videos down to 50% of the time commitment. But understood, I will plan to make some shorter videos in the future. And when I say future with any of these things, like with price targets and shorter videos, I mean like really soon, probably within the next few weeks. I'll start putting some of these things out. The price keeps dropping, but you showed upper price targets. So again, the upper price targets, this is why I don't like putting, you know, price targets out there, is because you still have to see what the stock is doing at any given time. We could have flash crashes for who knows why. You could all of a sudden have shorts pile into a stock sort of like unexpectedly. You could have short seller reports come out. You could have really bad earnings. You could have really great earnings. I mean, there's so many things that could come up that, like, because they can't predict the future, I don't know. And so at any point, the price of any stock could do something really crazy and unexpected because there's a catalyst that just wasn't planned for. And so, yeah, you just have to keep an eye on the stock. Like if you're investing in a way that you are pulling money in and out pretty frequently, which is what I do, to be honest, you have to watch the stocks as frequently as you want to be able to trade them. So if you're planning to do a bunch of day trading, like you should be on top of that chart basically the entire trading day, or at least until you pull your money out for the day. You should be really actively watching the tickers that you're invested in. You know, I do more swing trading, and so sometimes there's days that I don't look at the market, but it's because I'm happy with my position, and you know, maybe it's a channel play and it's where it is in the channel. I don't think that there's a big risk of it hitting the upper or the lower bound of the channel, and so I'm happy to sort of like take a little bit of a mental break and not be staring at the screen all day, you know, in those instances. So yeah, just because there are upper price targets on things does not mean that the price can't drop. I think also at any time whenever I put out a video with price targets, I think at that time at least, they are always, some are above and some are below. So I don't think that I've ever put out a video that at the time of making the video, I only put upper price targets, sort of like indicating that this thing could only go up. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Why do I use indicators X, Y, or Z? So because I feel like I get a good sense of familiarity with them, and I feel like I understand when they could be triggering or sort of like indicating a type of movement. So RSI and MACD, you'll see me use those a lot. The MAs, because I feel generally I understand what they're doing and how they are sort of communicating what the price is doing at any given time. All of them fail at different points, right? They're always like have the possibility of being wrong. And I think the more you trade, like you just have to be okay with being wrong a certain amount of time. Again, the goal that I always have is to be somewhat right most of the time. Meaning, like this plays to me into sort of like, oh, I didn't buy the total bottom and I didn't sell at the very, very top. That should not be your goal. Your goal, in my opinion, should be to catch most of that move. So if it goes from 50 to 100, you know, and you catch 60 to 80, I wouldn't beat yourself up on that. Like, take those wins and like run with it. You know, so this to me is like a similar thing. Like the indicators that I find that I feel are generally right most of the time, or I generally understand them most of the time, those are the ones that I use. And you know, I don't care if they were developed to be used on Forex or any other sort of like market or medium. If I feel like they are contributing something that I'm understanding in the stock because I'm using that certain indicator, I will use it. I don't care if it was developed for Forex or for, you know, some other type of market. If it seems to be working, then I use it. Lastly, the future of the channel. Oh, so this is, I kind of handled this already. This isn't really a question, but this is me just sort of like wanting to talk about the future of the channel. So obviously we're going to continue with the stock focus. If you don't know this, I didn't launch the channel thinking that it would be purely stocks. I thought stocks would be an element of it, but obviously things kind of grew pretty quickly, and I'm hoping that they continue to grow, obviously. And so I'm going to stick to the stock focus for the time being, and for the foreseeable future. I don't think that that's going to change, to be honest. But a couple of things that I am going to do to kind of like level up. One, this is going to take a little bit of time, but one, I'm going to look at ways that I can do better editing of the videos so that they aren't just purely a video of myself talking, and or they're not purely just a video of a screen and me sort of like moving around on the computer. There's sort of like a mix of both, and there's like an editing elements. This all obviously is just a matter of time. It's just how much time do I have to make the video, conceptualize the video, create, you know, the thumbnails, which I know are not fancy, so it doesn't seem like that's a thing, but it kind of is. It all just compile, you know, it all just piles up. Write the descriptions, and you know, then wait for it to upload and make sure it's processing correctly, and then share it out and that sort of thing. So it's just time consuming. For the time being, I've defaulted to be able to put out like 3 to 5 videos a day, versus just put out like 1 video a day but have it be like a fancier video. But I am going to be working on ways to make that more possible in the future, as well as just like improving my equipment. So like right now I don't have a great like recording setup or anything like that, and I'm sure folks have, you know, realized that like the audio and the video could be much better, and those will be getting better over time, as I am sort of like able to just level up my equipment and get better things to work with. So I guess that's all for this video, but interesting to try to do it this way. But I will see you all tonight for some stock analyses and maybe some price targets. I don't know if I'll have them quite ready yet, but soon. All right, well, thanks a bunch for the comments and the questions and all of your suggestions. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.